Well, my name is Susan Ahlers Leman, and I am a Vice President and Senior Trust Officer here at GreenState Credit Union. My career has been, I'll back up a little bit to my education. I went to University of Iowa for undergraduate, and then I attended law school at University of Iowa as well. Go Hawks. After graduating from law school, I practiced law with a law firm for 7 years and did a little bit of everything, and then got into financial services and trust and investment services just about 20 years ago now, in July of 2001. I would say there isn't a specific typical path, other than I would say that most of us do have a college degree. Not everyone is a lawyer by any means, but certainly an undergraduate degree. Oftentimes that's in, it could be in accounting, it could be in communications. Mine was in political science. So definitely an undergraduate degree, and sometimes a law degree as well. What I would say is, the title is the title, but what I truly do is I am a trusted advisor. So I work with my clients on all aspects of their financial plan or their financial health. For many of my clients, from when they're growing their wealth and all the way to when they're planning on transitioning that, meaning after they pass away or if they want to give away their money later in life. So that whole holistic, or that whole life of their financial health, their financial plan, is what a trusted advisor like myself does.
That makes sense.
Every day is very different. I am what you would call a member-facing or front-facing person. Most of my day is spent with current clients or people who are thinking they want to become clients. And because every client is really different, every meeting is really different. I think it's really analogous or similar to a doctor. If you go to your general practitioner, go see your family doctor, if I walk in and talk about what I'm concerned about or fearful of or need help with, that's going to be very different than if you walk in to that same doctor. And so the doctor is going to approach each of us in a way that's really customized to us, to each of us. And I would say that's similar to what my day is. So what is consistent day to day is that I'm either meeting with a client, a prospective client, or I'm working on their plan and my recommendations. Where I do that is, it depends. It depends day to day. It could be a Zoom call, could be sitting around their dining room table. One thing that I'm really fortunate, and GreenState in general applies this to all of our employees, is a lot of flexibility. Family work balance is very important, and I value that very much. On the flip side of that, though, is I may have a client who needs to meet on a Saturday morning or a Sunday night or midweek in the evening or early breakfast. So I would say generally I work from 8 till 5:30, but there are, depending on what is best for the client, honestly, I feel like I'm never not working, because if I'm in a setting where I can connect with people that are current or future partners with me, I want to do that. With my situation, and I think this is very common, a trust officer, trust and investment person receives a base salary, so they know they're going to get a certain amount for the year. And mine is not hourly. I don't punch a time clock, but I know that I'm going to get X amount over the course of the year. But then as I add new business, so if I bring on an investment account, then I know that I'm going to get an incentive based on that. So really the upside is up to me and how much new business I sell. I think there is a demand. I'm working with my clients and sort of as a point person, or the hub, the wheel that coordinates their accountant, their attorney, their life insurance agent. I'm that point person for them. There are lots of banks very few credit unions that provide those services. I think a lot of people can benefit from those services. So in that respect, I think there's demand. In terms of availability of positions, I think as that demand grows, then there's going to be more positions available. I will say I think most of the positions here at GreenState, we are looking for someone who has a 4-year degree or is working toward a 4-year degree. My job is not one where you learn specific skills and apply them in a very consistent way. It's not task based. It's more relationship based. So number one, I would say listening. If I need to be able to have someone come in and feel comfortable and let me know what they want, and then I can kind of assess what they need. So listening and not being too hurried to say, oh, well, have I got a product for you? That's not a good thing. It's listening. And then second, communicating. And what is the best style of communication with that client? So for some people, it's in-person meetings. For some people, they love email. For others, they want a phone call. You really have to figure out what type of communication and what level of detail your client is interested in. And then thirdly, it is that ability to problem solve creatively and to really take what you've heard and figure out, okay, how do I get from where they are to where they want to be? And what are the steps that we need to get there? And do I need to pull in any other of their advisors or any other resources to make that happen? So those would be the three, in my view, primary skills that are needed. I love working with people. I love helping them feel comfortable with their financial plan, helping them solve problems that they believe exist, and ultimately working in my favorite experiences are when I can work with multiple generations of a family to have that piece of their life be smoothed out, so they're not worried about it and can just enjoy living and building relationships with their family and friends. I see two primary challenges. The first one would be market volatility and how people react to that. So when people invest their money, it can go up or it can go down. And the market sometimes can go down a lot. And some of my clients react to that with more nervousness or fear than others. And so the challenge in that is helping coach them through or hold their hand through or reassure them through that market dip, and that it's going to be okay, and we'll still get to where you need to be. The second challenge is with respect to clients leaving their money to children or grandchildren in a way that ties up the funds, puts restrictions, and that child or grandchild maybe didn't know that was going to be the case. So within that, the specifics of that challenge are that then I and my colleagues are working with the heirs, the grandchild or child, and explaining to them what's now going to have to happen. And they can be very emotional about that, or frustrated, or angry, or maybe they're grieving. And they'll take that out on us because the loved one is gone. And so navigating that with them can be, it ebbs and flows. It's an ongoing challenge, certainly. But, I feel like we are equipped to deal with both of those challenges pretty effectively. I know that GreenState does do job shadowing. So that definitely, I think a lot of learning about stocks and bonds, learning about investments, also doing reading focused on all aspects of financial planning. So that might be college savings and techniques to do that. It could be how wills and trusts and how those work. It could be learning about the dynamics and of working with people, which will benefit all of us. That how do I communicate effectively? How can I listen? And putting yourself in volunteer or employment opportunities where you learn to do that. Some of our best staff here at the credit union overall came from retail situations where they were serving people. So that customer service, that client service, whether that's as a waitress or waiter, whether that is working at a grocery store, where they're actually serving the public, that's something that can really equip people to work with clients and customers later on. I think taking some basic accounting I'm not an accountant, but taking some basic accounting classes I think is very important. I also think that taking classes that involve writing, because especially with texting, a lot of us are getting used to abbreviating words and sentences, and in this position, I need to be able to write well. So I think writing classes are very important. And then I would also say if there are public speaking, so whether it's debate or acting, theater classes, because sometimes I'm in front of a larger group of people, perhaps giving a seminar on something, on estate planning or investing. And so that would be helpful as well. When I'm working with people, a lot of times it involves organizing their information, gathering what they have so they can see it holistically or in one, how it all works together. And so this is a system, and this is a sample client. This is not an actual client, because I do have to make sure I honor confidentiality. But so one of the things I'll do is I'll take all of their investments and I'll consolidate them together so they can see how diversified their portfolio is, what type of investments they're in. And so this does this for them. And the Millers, this hypothetical situation, it pulls in their 529 plans, which are college savings plans, their investment account, their retirement account. And so they can see that. That's something that a lot of people don't take the time on their own to do. The other thing that this system does for me, and it will give my client access to their own website so that they can see all of this information just from home. Here it creates a balance sheet so we can see that Frank Miller, what he owns in his name, what his wife Joanna owns in her name, and what they own together, including any debt. Their mortgage on their house and their credit card debt shows up in red. And so that balance sheet, oftentimes unless people are borrowing money, they don't take the time to put together a balance sheet for themselves. And our system is such that their accounts, wherever they might be, update daily. We link them so they can see on any given day how they're invested and how their balance sheet looks. One last report I'll show you. I could talk about this all day because I love it. But one other thing it shows us is over time whether their assets will last their lifetime. Because if they won't, based on how much Frank and Joanna want to spend when they retire, then something needs to change. And so in this particular example, their assets are not going to last until for their lifetime. Frank is anticipated to live until 2067, and their assets, based on their spending and savings, are going to run out in 2047. So about 20 years too soon. And so and this gets into some more detail, but we can talk about, okay, you need to lower your expenses. You need to save more. You might need to invest a little more aggressively. And so this is a tool that I use with my clients that can really help them see where they're at, where they want to be, and what changes, if any, do we need to make to get there.